Okay, first off, I'd just like to say that yeah, I haven't reviewed a game sold on a retail shelf in quite a while. By no means does that mean I'm only reviewing downloadable titles at this point. I'm just reviewing what I'm currently playing, which happens to be downloadable games. So having said that, here's the strangely titled Nin2-Jump with a dash thrown in there for good nonsensical measure. In case you haven't already guessed it, this is a game that could have only come from Japan. After all, you play as a paper puppet on a stick who is naturally a ninja. His goal is apparently to rescue a princess while collecting every scroll he can possibly get his hands on, all while dodging environmental hazards as well as enemies and scary purple wraith puppets that want to rip him to gory shreds. I didn't previously know that paper puppets actually spewed fountains upon fountains of gore when they were torn asunder, but Nin2-Jump has since taught me otherwise. And those poor cheering Japanese kids in the front row probably get drenched in blood as they gasp in shock and horror to see their favorite paper ninja meet his grim fate. Oh yes, that's right, you play the game with the lower portion of the screen obscured by excited school children who cheer your heroic deeds and warn your less successful ones. To Western eyes at least, let's just say it, this game is freaking weird, but admittedly distinctive. The gameplay itself is conventional though, more or less. This is old school arcade, built around bragging rights and leaderboards. The point, in essence, is to traverse the game's 50 or so short levels, collecting all the scrolls in each level, so that you can unlock the door to the next, there to do it all over again. Some boss fights are the only real exception to that rule, but that, in essence, is Nin2-Jump. And at what essentially boils down to a $5 purchase, if challenging, hyperactive, and goofy side-scrollers are your thing, it's well worth the coin. What comes the closest to depth in this gameplay are the new abilities that open up for Ninja as the game progresses. For the first several levels, your puppet ninja on a stick is limited to running and jumping. Soon, though, he earns a grappling hook, which allows him to crazily pounce all over the place and reach different areas, and later a kind of attack ability. These things change the flow of the gameplay considerably, adding new wrinkles to keep things interesting. But deep, this game is not. It's all about using your reflexes and collecting those scrolls. And, in your typical Japanese side-scroller fashion, it can be brutally hard, especially once you get that grappling hook. Most of the game's challenges are fun and can be conquered by lots of trial and error. You will play through most levels multiple times, but there are those that just seem cheap and unfair. Sometimes, point of fact, those kids at the bottom of the screen actually blind you to some of the environmental challenges you'll need to negotiate, and it's just frustrating. Many were the times I felt that sheer blind luck brought me to the end of some of the game's levels where no skill would have sufficed. The game's presentation won't be for everyone, but again, it's impossible to deny that it's loaded with personality. The sound effects, such as Ninja's deep-throated shouts of Japanese bravado, or the cheering of the children, should get annoying, but somehow I found them consistently funny and amusing. As the game is designed to look like paper puppets in front of an old-school projector screen, the graphics aren't animated much, but it's in keeping with the theme. The lack of color, however, can be a bit grating, but again, it stays true to the theme. I would go so far as to call it an acquired taste in terms of how it's presented, but mostly I dug it. This one seems like a throwback too. Besides, it's hard enough that you can't even hope to blow through its levels unless you already memorized each one of them completely. This sort of goofy, frantic, and distinctly Japanese style of game probably isn't for everyone. Me personally, I had my doubts when I bought it, but heard that its developer, Cave, was donating the proceeds to the Red Cross of Japan to help in earthquake relief until the end of June 2011. That sold me, given that not only are you helping a good cause, you're getting a fun little game out of it too. Just make sure you buy it quick if you want some real-life karma points. It's a fun way to kill a few hours and a nice reminder of how frantic and challenging side-scrollers like this one used to be. Speaking of side-scrollers, if you're a fan, and thank you downloadable content for single-handedly resurrecting the genre, then forget about Nin2-Jump for a minute and let's talk Outland. This one's got the goods for sure, as all of the professional reviews out there will attest to. While Nin2-Jump is just a fun distraction for a low price, Outland is a game I'd have paid twice as much for. Its color-coded soul abilities make it truly unique, while what it lacks in a storyline that actually makes sense, it more than makes up for in sheer ambience. Rather than wow you with a strong narrative, it's all about the mood here, and it conveys a sense of ancient mystery in a way that's fresh, but not unlike games such as Ico or Shadow of the Colossus. Fan of such games and want to play it in 2D, Outland is the shiznit, but I digress.